Hey, you came to the right show if you're hungry. We got ribs.
I love ribs. You know what a great city for my favorite city for ribs?
Where?
Kansas City's got the greatest.
Yes.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Gates Barbecue, Oklahoma Joe's, Arthur Bryant's. It's barbecue central.
I've been there.
For me, steaks also.
Yeah, but barbecue.
Great place.
What, now, I know you don't put much credit or credibility into the Baseball Hall of Fame, but you know, this year you got one writer going in. It's getting funny now, man.
Jack Morris.
Yeah, again, Jack Morris. Someone was just making an argument. Who was just saying to me they're against Jack Morris going in?
I can't imagine why.
I have no. I'm sorry. His ERA's a little high. Like,
yes,
his
ERA would be the highest of any pitcher in baseball. However,
come on, the other stats.
Any pitcher in the Hall of Fame. However, he pitched his entire career in the American League during the DH era.
No kidding.
No pitcher who's ever pitched in the American League his entire career during the DH era has ever been voted in. Of course your number's going to be higher.
Especially in these lean years. How is Jack Morris not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, here's the thing. All these stat geeks will talk about quality starts, the most ridiculous stat of all time. And I'll come back with them.
Explain what a quality start is.
A quality start by today's standards is 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs.
Right.
Which basically gives you a 4.5 ERA. I don't understand that, this quality start. That means, so if I'm flying a plane and the pilot says, listen, I've gone 2/3 of the way, I'm leaving it up to the other guy to finish the last third of the flight. So they have...
Pretty much, yeah.
But Jack Morris, I think, had 527, started 527 games, like something like that, in his Major League career. He averaged 7 1/3 per start. So that means every game he ever pitched, he had a quality start. How do you not... put him in the Hall of Fame. It's so
terrible.
And by the way, the last 2 years is what jumped his ERA.
Yeah, he stuck around a long time.
Well, he stuck around too long. But I'm saying it's like if it's not for those 2 years, it's about 3.6, 3.7, which is
And Biggio's got 3,000 hits. 3,000 hits. I'd put him in there. A great player.
They do the best to keep people. It's the writers. It's not. We have to make a separation between the Baseball Hall of Fame Museum, which is a great museum, which is the coolest place in the world.
I just went last summer.
It's so cool.
I had a gig close by, and I went with my cousin.
How cool was it?
Listen, I hadn't been there since I was 14, Robert.
Oh man!
So you're talking 30 years, and I was like, I loved it. We stayed at that classic hotel.
Saga Inn.
Yeah, we stayed there.
Great place.
Right on the lake, and Danny was with me, and my cousin and his kid came. And I had a gig about an hour and a half away, and I said, we're going to stay, we're going to do a Cooperstown weekend. And it was so much fun.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
They're going to celebrate I just did a press conference for them. They're going to celebrate their 75th anniversary next year, the Hall of Fame.
No kidding.
That should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of, I went back to Union last week for the first time in about 15, 20 years.
We're doing, you'll love this. Maybe you want to do it with us. We're having our own Artie Lange Show home run derby from Hall Stadium.
When are you doing it?
Lehigh, we got to get a date. We'll let you know. As soon as we get a date, we'll let you know.
It was the first
We're going to launch him out of Hall Stadium.
It was the first time I was back. I got emotional.
No kidding?
I got emotional.
Where'd you go to high school or something?
No. My brother took me back there. We visited. My parents are buried there. I hadn't been back there.
Okay.
And I went to my old house. The guy let me into my old house. And
Over by Fairway?
Evergreen Parkway. And it looked great. And I got emotional back there. I went through Union Center. It was great.
We got to go. We'll break on. Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Talking with a good friend of mine, the great Robert Wuhl, and we were talking sports. He just came from a great event, the new Woody Allen movie, Blue Jasmine.
Blue Jasmine. Okay,
and again, how great is it, that Woody Allen still makes movies every year? You get a chance. Listen, sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're classics, sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're pretty good. They never suck. They never
There's a
few in the last 15 years have been there.
But that's right. Hey, listen, the guy's made 60 movies.
Unbelievable.
He's made a movie at least one a year from every year since 1968.
It's not talked about enough. I mean,
body of work.
I've written 2 movie scripts in my life. One got produced, actually, and it took me 7 years. It's astonishing. The guy's a genius.
You talk about, they talk about the body of work of Tarantino. What's he made, 4 or 5 movies?
Yeah, I know.
Woody Allen's made over 60 movies.
Even a guy like Albert Brooks, it's like they talk about him.
5,
too.
6,
exactly. Yeah. Woody Allen, it's like he's like George Carlin with stand-up.
Yeah.
Wrote an hour every 2 years. But this is more impressive. It's more impressive. On a stand-up, it's hard to write an hour stand-up that's as good as those.
It's very hard.
As good as those were.
Very hard.
As good as those Carlins were. But, he wrote a new special every 2 years. But the Woody Allen isn't talked about enough. So anyway, every once in a while he throws in a real dark drama. But this is a dark comedy.
It's a dark comedy.
So Kate Blanchett's in it. and Louis C.K.'s in it, and Alec Baldwin is the male lead, I guess. But Dice Clay's got who's a good actor.
He's very good in the part. He was just speaking, and he says hi.
Okay, I know Dice. I've worked with Dice, and you just came from a screening where they were all there, right?
Well, Kate Blanchett and Dice were there.
Was Woody there?
No.
Do you know Woody Allen? Have you ever?
I've met him. I've never worked with him. He lives up by my block, so we walk by.
What was it like meeting him? In what circumstances? You just?
I met him a couple of times at the Knick games.
Okay.
And then I saw him a couple of times just walking one of the kids down to my block.
Right.
You know, and he said to me, "You live on this block? This is a nice block." That's what he said.
Really? Yeah. I was at a Knick game once. An agent at William Morris, James Dixon, great agent, got me Knick seats, the Jay-Z seats, the Spike Lee seats. I was sat next to him. Jon Stewart was supposed to go, who I'm sort of friendly with, and he couldn't make it. So he said, I give Artie the tickets. So I went with this agent, and we sat actually next to Jay-Z. It was in 03. I've told this story before, 03 or 04. LeBron was on Cleveland, and LeBron James conducted a full conversation with Jay-Z while he was playing a basketball game. I never saw anything like that. He was like, yo, Ta, hey, and he was playing great. And Woody Allen was with us. And you know when you have those seats, you go out a certain elevator, they take you in the celebrity elevator?
The suite.
Here was the elevator. The elevator was Soon Yi, Woody Allen, myself, this agent, David Duchovny, and 3 people I didn't know. And I'm like, you just hope that gets stuck. And he looked so Woody Allen, he looked so neurotic, like he was claustrophobic, you know. And what do you say to the guy? He was like, right here, Robert. You know, it's like, I didn't say anything.
So I had something similar happen to me recently. I went to see Bette Midler at her show. And Bette was very good to me when I started out in the club. She used to come to see me.
So you know her?
I know her, and she was always very supportive. She got me auditions, and she's.
I've heard nothing but nice things about her as a person.
So I go backstage, and in the play, she's playing this super agent, Sue Mengers, who's a real agent, who's passed on. And she talks in the plays, she's dissing about guys like William Friedkin, the directors, and Candice Bergen, and Sherry Lansing used to run the studio. So we go backstage, and who's backstage? William Friedkin, Candice Bergen, and Sherry Lansing.
Wow.
And then there's a woman with her back to me, and she was talking to her, and I'm waiting, in the receiving line. She turns around, she sees me, and she goes, Robert! She gives me this big hug, and it's Meryl Streep. So my wife says, Robert, she know? I go, I met her one time.
I'm gonna say, have you worked with Meryl Streep? You've been in a lot of movies. I
said I met her one time. So my wife says, you think she's full of crap? I go, it's Meryl Streep. How would you know? I don't know.
Did I ever tell you the story about the first time we ever met? I don't know if I ever told you this story. Me and my buddy, Fran Gallagher, snuck into Comic Relief 1990. I was 21 years old. We went to the city. It was a Radio City Music Hall. And we somehow snuck in. Like, I parked my car, which was an AMC Matador at the time, and illegally. And we snuck in, and people were going in and out of seats. We sat down. It ended, and we just strolled on stage with like cattle. And you were there. This is 1990, so Bill Dorman had come out. And I went up to you and I said, hey, Robert, I'm from Union. And he said, really, what street? And I told you the street. He goes, oh, that's nice. Nice to meet you. And then Susan Sarandon walked by, and you went, nice to meet you. Susan, you going to the party? And she talked. I said, it was nice. We got blown off for Susan Sarandon. But you were very nice.
Oh,
but I'm
good,
saying.
okay.
But so go ahead. You met Meryl Streep.
Yeah, that was just funny.
You never met her before? As far as you
met her
knew?
one time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
One time, but she was acting like my best friend.
Because you've been in a ton of films. You're like, maybe you even forgot you.
No, I remember.
You would remember Meryl Streep.
I remember Meryl Streep, believe me.
So you went to the screening, and what was it like? You saw Dice Clay spoke or something?
Yeah, they had a little thing afterwards, and he was just overwhelmed talking about getting the phone call,
right?
Because he thought it was a joke. When they said, Woody Allen wants to meet you for a part in this picture,
right.
And he said, this is a joke. He goes, no, you got to go to the meeting. And he said, Woody, and talked with him. He was just overwhelmed. And he said, I've never done. Plus, he's with these. I mean, you can't believe how good Kate Blanchett is. I mean,
I think she's amazing.
I mean, this performance, because she's playing, she's playing a fictionalized version of like Madoff's wife.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Alec Baldwin's like Madoff.
So is that what this is loosely based on, sort of? Is that what he's doing? It's not loosely,
but it's a character like that has gone through. Is going through a real thing about going from the heights of everything, and now she's got nothing.
And descends into madness, I read in one review.
Yeah, pretty much it, right.
And he writes that, a woman descending into madness.
Well, he's great with women's roles. There's no question about it.
You know, in the movie Another Woman by him, Gina Rowlands, oh my God, she's so brilliant in it. And again, he writes her brilliantly. She looks back on her life about how certain people she thought loved her hated her, and she sees all her flaws, and it's so dark. And she realizes she's been obnoxious to certain people. And Sandy Dennis is great in a little role. And so that's why I'm dying to see this, because if it's based on Madoff's wife, I think that's amazing.
It's a storyline. Now, the thing about Woody is amazing is that you think of the women's roles he's created when you got Annie Hall, and you got Vicky Cristina.
Hannah and her sister.
Hannah and her sister. Right. Diane Wiest, Bullets Over Broadway.
Oh, she's amazing.
All the Mia Farrow stuff she's done. I mean, all these great characters. And yet, I know my wife's friends hate Woody Allen because of the Mia Farrow and Soon Yi thing.
Married his daughter.
Look at the artistic stuff. He goes, he married his sister, his daughter. You know,
that is rough.
Details.
That is rough. Well, what about, where do you stand on the Roman Polanski thing? Would you work with Roman Polanski?
It's so fast it would make your head swim. You know, it was like, are you kidding? I was with Jim Belushi at the.
Would you work with Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm just asking.
Sure.
I mean, that's very honest of you, because a lot of people.
What's the number? You know, it's like, you know, I mean, where's the work? What is it about? Yeah. I mean, you have to separate the personal from the professional. You have to do that.
Well, you're an artist. A lot of people don't understand
that. I mean,
they don't understand to. I mean, Roman Polanski drugged and sodomized a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Details.
I mean, listen, you're being very honest. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Jim Belushi was at the fantasy draft I told you about, and he's in that movie, I forgot what's called, The Whistleblower or something like that.
Right.
And he talked about Polanski, getting a call from Polanski, and he said, are you kidding me? His agent said, you want to do this? And he goes, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He goes, I'm on a plane tomorrow. I mean, there's certain...
You got Adrian Brody and Oscar.
You have to separate the personal from professional. Look at guys like, Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Henry Ford's one of the great industrialists of all time.
Anti-Semite.
Huge anti-Semite. Charles Lindbergh. You know, one of the great aviator, everything else.
Is he another anti-Semite?
Anti-Semite, pro-Nazi, everything else.
Pro-Nazi.
Big time pro-Nazi. Big time. Had a second family in Germany that his first family never knew about.
No kidding.
I mean, there's a lot of guys. You have to separate the personal from the professional. I mean, within reason. I mean, it's like, but
well, you're going pretty far, man.
But those two,
pro-Nazi.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not working with Lindbergh.
That's not within reason.
I'm not working with Lindbergh.
So you wouldn't work with. You draw the line there.
I draw the line at Lindbergh. And you know what? He hasn't called me either. That's the other point. Son of a bitch hasn't called me once. Not even for a flight. Come on, I'll take you around. We'll
get some other jackass to be your flight attendant.
Really. We'll get we'll take the day cruise around here, you know?
It's an interesting question. It really is. Because of course, what's the cliche thing? What if it was your daughter, Roman Polanski, right? You know, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but to me, that's hard to separate. It is. And Woody Allen, I love him. I'll go see and support his movies forever. But think about what he did to Mia Farrow. That is brutal mental abuse.
It's
like, and I think it's abusing Soon Yi on some level. You know,
but however, he's gotten much friendlier since it's happened. I mean, he's much more open than he used to be.
He seems to be.
I mean, it's like so.
Did you ever see Wild Man Blues?
Yes.
God,
it was very revealing.
The most fascinating.
Wasn't revealing when she said, "Woody, why don't you talk to the band members?"
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, she's actually taped to help them a little.
And that her favorite movie is Manhattan.
Yeah.
And she's never seen Annie Hall.
She never saw it. Yeah. I mean, it's just so you got to separate them sometimes, personal, professional people.
Look, I'll go see his movies forever.
I mean, there's a guy. I'm sure there's guys you played with or play with. You'd say, boy, this guy's the biggest jerk of all time. But boy, I want him on my team.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Did you have guys who were like that you knew personally were just such immoral? Just you know,
Barrett Robbins.
Well, I'm sure.
Great example.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not a good person.
What about Jerry Sandusky? Would you need a defensive coordinator that bad?
He was a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And we thought he was a great guy.
Yeah. He got recruited by Sandusky. As a 14-year-old. Nothing happened.
He was best friends with the AD at my high school. They coached together. Basketball in the 60s. But no, Barrett Robbins was impossible to get along with.
Right.
He was, as far as I knew, an alcoholic, just a raging jerk in a lot of ways, but probably the best center in football. I mean, he was going to the Pro Bowl that year that he went AWOL.
That story's amazing. You know the guy he's talking about, right? The guy who went AWOL the night before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was celebrating in Mexico because he thought we won.
He thought they won already.
Yeah, he went off his meds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Big time?
But
But
that was not the first time that he had gone AWOL before a game. I mean, this was
What is that like from a team point of view when that happens?
It was shocking.
They didn't find out till they were taking the team picture.
It was Saturday morning. It was Saturday morning. We're on the field, and our coach says, "All right, offense, huddle up," and he's the guy who calls the huddle. So there's no one saying huddle.
He's
and
the
we're just
center.
walking around like, wait a second. Yeah.
Hey, you know, I'm glad you're here, Robert. When Nick called in, this guy you might like, old timer from Newark, he's got great stories. Nick, you're on with Robert Wuhl. Nick from Newark.
Artie,
What's up?
from where I just want to talk about two stories from the neighborhood.
Go ahead, North Newark. Go ahead.
From where I lived, a half a block and then a half a block up on 4th Avenue and Roseville Avenue, Gregory Mangin lived. And he was the world's greatest tennis player. He had a tennis court in the back of his house. He won the national singles from 1930 until 1940. He won it 5 times, and he won the doubles with a guy named Mako.
Wait a minute. Living in Newark was the world's greatest tennis player of the 1930s?
Yes, Gregory Mangin.
Okay.
was
Did you ever
born-
hear this guy?
I was born in Newark.
Gregory, yeah. Gregory Manger?
Mangin.
Okay. Oh, Mangin.
M-A-N-G-I-N.
All right.
Look him up on the computer. He's there.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
That's a great
Now-
story.
Now, on Roseville Avenue, another half a block, was Carmen Cicero. Carmen Cicero, right now, is one of the world's greatest painters. He has stuff in about 30 museums around the world, and he played the violin. My brother played the violin, and we grew up together.
Carmen Cicero was a contemporary of yours, and he's one of the world's greatest painters.
What does he get for a house?
Absolutely.
I was gonna say North Newark. What's he get for a garage?
2 coats.
You know,
Yeah.
and that was, that was a fact. And around the corner from him, John Drabble, who was a friend of mine for 70 years, he just passed away. He was the dean at Farley Dickinson University. We
Wow.
used to go to New York together.
My nephew goes to Farley Dickinson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was
That's
the
right.
dean there and just passed. He just passed.
I
But
used
he
to.
was a dear friend of mine.
My whole family's from Newark.
Right, mine too.
guys that we
North
lived
Newark.
Yeah, my family's. I remember the Tavern Restaurant was a great. The Tavern Restaurant and the Weequake Diner
Oh, the Weequake Diner, amazing.
were 2 of the.
I know the
great-
Weequake Diner.
And the Claremont Diner was the other.
Claremont
but the
was-
Weequake Diner and the Tavern
Well, it
Restaurant.
seems Union was just an extension of Newark. It's Newark and Irvington.
Well,
Like,
Newark
people-
was all. Remember, Union back in the day was the headquarters of the German. Talk about the Nazis.
German American boom.
It
was
sure
there.
was.
Yeah,
All the Nazi meet, all the German American Nazi meetings were in Union.
Heavy German. Yeah.
Beer Temple was the mayor for. I think he's still the mayor now. I think this guy was the mayor of Union for like 50, 60 years.
I drove a cab for Union Taxi when I was struggling as a comic. Guy named Cliff, a big-time German guy, was the owner of the taxi company, and he, believe me, you could have some questionable arguments with him. Nick, thanks for calling in, Nick.
Well, I got a quick tip for you.
Go ahead.
Get a double tandem bike, and you and Bichetti do the bike on TV.
All right.
10 minutes every day, and you'll lose weight like you can't believe.
All right, Nick, you got it, Nick. We'll try on television. We'll make
Nice
a
to meet
reality show. Nick's a good man. He calls every once in a while. He gives us some stories.
Great.
North Newark. Now, what part of Newark is your family from?
They were from here. I remember I remember Friedlinghausen Avenue.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
Van Velser Place. Around. Well, they went to Weequake High School.
Right.
My mother went to school with Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis is a Weequake guy. That's right.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
mother went to school with him, so I was so young.
I
don't-
just met Jerry. I roasted Jack Black for the Friars Club.
I heard it was great.
And it was a good time. And Jerry Lewis was on the dais, and he knew me by first name. Maybe someone briefed him, but I'm being delusional and say he knew me. So it was a lot of fun. 'Cause he said, "Artie, how are you?" He gave me that voice, and I said, my father went to Irvington Tech. I said to him, and he went, "Irvington." that's our entire conversation.
I met Jerry one time.
It was great.
Years ago, it had to be about 1993, 94 at Sundance.
Yeah.
Cobb had just opened up, or it was opened up like a week before.
Just
him.
saw it the other day. Great. Again, I can't. That's a movie I can't stop watching when it's on.
It's dark.
Yeah,
it's
I
dark.
love it.
A lot of people don't like it,
I
but
love it.
but I went to the Sundance Film Festival, and Jerry Lewis, when I grew up, was my generation's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I was the first one in line for
Bigger, right? I mean,
well, he was. We're talking, you know. So I went to first day. I had to be at every Jerry Lewis movie. I had to be there. And then you get older and you develop taste, and then you had that period when he became, you know, the whole with the telethon. It was like, what's going on here?
Right.
So he became, you know, at that period,
pretentious Jerry.
Right. Yeah. So then I go to the Sundance Film Festival, and the movie I go see is a movie called Funny Bones, which is with Oliver Platt and Jerry Lewis plays the old time vaudevillian. And I'm sitting in the back of the theater, and I see Jerry's, you know, on the sideline over there talking to one of his kids who is now grown up, but he's still, you know, in the wheelchair.
Right.
But you can see there's a fondness, and I'm watching him, just enjoying watching him and this guy who's probably known for 30 years. And as I'm doing that, he kind of catches my eye, and he goes, "Great work in Cobb."
No kidding.
And I'm saying, where'd this come from? And he goes, "Robert, Jerry."
That's nice.
And so everything just washed away.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So that moment has always stayed with
How
me.
great, though, does Martin Scorsese use him in King of Comedy? Like he's did you ever see the King of Comedy?
No.
You know? It's well, De Niro and Sandra Bernhard. I mean, it's worth it for that too. But Jerry Lewis, you know, Scorsese's basically making him play him, kind of that obnoxious guy.
Carson. Yeah, him slash Carson.
Carson, right? But oh God, is he unreal in it?
You know what's interesting about that movie? When I first saw it, I didn't dig it that much.
Really?
And every time since it, I've gotten to like it more.
Well, did you see it in the theater like
more.
right after Raging Bull? To see it right after Raging Bull, because I was 14 when it came out, and I loved Raging Bull so much. And I was like, this is so different. I had the same attitude, like I'd rather see him do another Raging Bull type movie. But then you go watch it and watch, you go, this is unbelievable.
There's nobody I've worked with De Niro, and there's nobody in film.
Right, the Mistress.
Right.
Mistress, yeah.
And there's nobody, I think, in film who does monologues like De Niro.
Right.
I mean, the monologue, whether you're talking to me or the monologue when he's downstairs pretending he's on the yeah, that whole thing there. I mean, De Niro with monologues is really. There's a movie he's done called The Last Tycoon where he does a scene where
early
he talks
70s,
about
right?
making where he talks about making movies. He plays a fictionalized version of Irving Thalberg, the movie Tycoon, and nobody's ever done monologues. And he did one in Mistress where Martin Landau and I just sat there and just enjoyed watching it.
Right.
Like
He's
hours.
just talking to the camera.
Yeah, it was just great. No one's ever done.
You know what I love? There's a moment that's great in Mistress is when it's just a real.
Oh, Raging Bull. What about when he's in the mirror?
Oh God.
Yeah.
On the boss. No, but there's a great moment in Mistress he has that. I love. It's just, and it's real quick. And I don't know why I love this so much. He gets out of the car when he throws the keys to the. Was that improv by him?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's like I was there for that day. So I'm sitting. We shot the next scene. And I'm in the next scene with.
Right.
And I remember that he just.
Oh, you didn't direct that?
No.
You just wrote it.
No, I didn't write it. Barry Primus.
I thought you wrote that.
No, that was actually Tribeca's first film.
Oh, it was?
No, I didn't write.
You were
No, I kept that. No, I was just an actor hired for that.
Okay.
And but Barry Primus wrote and directed and gave me the part of a lifetime. And
great movie.
Yeah, and he just fires the
keys.
Was
awesome.
He just fires the keys to the parking attendant
out of nowhere. Because I wanted the actor playing the ballet. If you knew that, it's one of those things like Sonny, James Caan throwing the thing at Carlo, throwing the bat. James Caan told me a story about how that guy had no idea.
No,
the guy playing had no idea. Missed him by this much. Actually, it nicked his head. They had to stop production. All right, we gotta go. Is this guy on the phone? Is Ryan's in? Oh, he's in the studio. Okay, but Bob, thank you so much man, for coming in.
Always.
I appreciate you hanging, and come back anytime.
Oh,
brother.
Thanks a lot. Have a great time.
The great Robert. Well, enjoy Paris, okay?
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll be back right after these words.